I'm sitting here in the morning, burning some frankincense and writing some lyrics about what's going on right now, processing through those emotions. Currently, right now, so it's the first verse, second verse, third verse, the cleanest and easiest to write of them all. And now I'm in the fourth verse that's tying them all up. It's the sort of a trap beat that I made. Sounds pretty good and whatnot. I figure usually the way that the trap beats are running at about 135 to 165 BPM, that this song with 4 verses in it, the hook and a couple of bridges, is probably only going to be about 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes and 45 seconds or so. So it's not going to be too long, but couldn't get away with 2 verses with all the things that we need to talk about, and 4 verses seemed about right. Reading off the page right now. No beat or anything. Watching how the world is changing right before our eyes. Cause an enemy we cannot see has took us by surprise. It's everywhere, it's nowhere. A truth that's sublime. It's a killer that's infectious that cannot be denied. COVID started in China, made its way around the world. Even touched my family before it fully came unfurled. Our elders are the ones among us who were most at risk. My grandmother's nursing home wanted her first hit. I still lost my breath when mom told me that she had it. Probably tracked in by a nurse who was asymptomatic. And while folks out here thinking this shit is a hoax, I got friends quarantined who can't get air through their throats. The rest of these people went into panic buying, fighting over toilet paper while people are dying. Then Fauci stood silent while the president was lying, and our city shut down, sending unemployment rising. And now state after state is calling for shelter in place, hoping to limit the spread of infection by giving some folks a space. Because people ain't listening to calls for social distancing, not thinking that they could be the one who is transmitting it. You don't have to have symptoms to spread around the sickness. Fact is, they think it's these folks who spread it with the quickness. Now it's all up in the prisons and we're demanding mass release. Because folks were getting shitty health care before the disease. They're being locked in cells and denied PPEs. But it ain't quarantine when 1,000 peeps share the air you breathe. The numbers keep climbing. They don't know how many infected. That's because it's only the sickest among us who are getting tested. Don't have enough supply of N95s for doctors and staff, let alone the public, so the people are out making masks. Never been more clear who this country considers disposable, but black, brown, locked up, poor, and Amazon workers know. Much less people would be at risk if we had universal health care, and if redlining and imposed poverty weren't practiced everywhere. Racism and capitalism have always walked hand in hand, but now we're feeling that well-being is much more than supply and demand. The virus entered the country via white privileged travelers, but it's poor, brown, and black communities being hit the worst, precisely because of the policies set forth in the capitalist agenda, carried out by the racist arm of the United States dilemma. For years, we've been saying capitalism is a failing system for climate change, healthcare, workers' rights, and prisons. We got nothing but pushback and oppression from those with millions till COVID crashed the markets. Now socialism's in. They somehow found money to house folks without homes and hotels, and people acting like mutual aid collectivism is Novell. Of course, how else are we going to survive with no TP on the shelves? Be a shitty situation if all we have to rely on is ourselves. Watching how the world is changing right before our eyes, from a global system to one that's more localized. But the more things that change, all the more that survives. The fear, hatred, race, class, and social divides. White supremacists threaten to use COVID as a bioweapon, and a sick white pastor held sermon on Navajo land and spread it. It feels like the smallpox blankets all over again, and Asian folks are being beat in the streets getting blamed for this shit. But it's not all bad. There's a lot happening that should breed hope, even when it feels like we're hanging at the end of our rope. States have started to release folks from prisons thanks to Free Them All, and people are checking on family and friends and doing wellness calls. Taking food to elders and doing collective healing practices, online video chats, skill sharing, and new tactics for activists working to mitigate and balance the damages. It's quite miraculous. But there's still a lot to do if we're going to get past all this.